This is Umar for BoxNation. It's the first one of 2025 with Fabio Wardley. Do I now introduce you as a world-class heavyweight contender?
I would think so. Yeah, I think I'm up there. I think maybe introduce myself as and when I walk around is a bit knobheady, but yeah, I think I'm in the mix now.
Well, look, you've done it at every level, really, right up to European level. That sensational knockout you had over Clark in the rematch. On the eye test, I know it didn't last very long, but that looked like a man who's ready for world-level contenders, even perhaps a world title shot. I'm not jumping the gun there, am I?
No, I wouldn't say so. It's the same sentiment that me and the team have as well. I know people are a bit if and butty about it because obviously, it was just a quick one round knockout and all of that. But a lot of people don't see the detail that goes into things like that behind the scenes and how much I've grown and developed to be able to put on a performance like that and pull something like that off. So, yeah, I think I'm grown enough, big enough, ugly enough now. I've gone through enough kind of trials, tribulations, tests, done the 12 rounds, gone through hard fights, took a hit, gave a hit, whatever. I've done it all now. So there's nothing left for me to do really, rather than really push myself and test myself at the world level. And so far, every new level I've stepped up to, everyone I've pushed myself to, I've conquered.
It's been a crazy journey to watch actually from away from the ropes because there's this guy who just walks into the heavyweight scene on your debut that no one knows. You're a white collar fighter. No one really expects anything from you. And the way you've got to this point now where we're saying you're there or thereabouts for a world title shot, not only have you done it, emphatically, but it's been as if you are a seasoned amateur and that, everything to this point as being as respectful to the guys as you fought. I know the first Clark fight was an absolute war, but it's looked kind of comfortable for you at this point, which really shouldn't have been what happened, considering you're a white collar fighter. But you've tore up the script, I suppose.
Yeah, I think that's a good way of looking at it. Is that if you go throughout my career, I've not really been in too many sticky situations. Aside from that, obviously Clark fight, which is the obvious one. I think 1 out of about 18, 19 is not a bad ratio to go on. Of every time I step up to a new level, I get through it, and not to be disrespectful, not to say I get through it with ease, but there's a level of comfort to it. Which then proves, okay, cool. I'm good at this level. I'm ready to move on, and I think that's how I've sewn up kind of the British scene for myself and fighting at domestic level. With that, I've done enough kind of ticking off fights down there that I'm ready to go. No, you know what? World honours is the way to go now.
Absolutely. But it seemed like your psychotic side did enjoy the fight the O2.
Yeah, yeah. There's a bit of me that will always like, although like in the middle of it, the day after or the weeks after, whatever. Don't get me wrong, I wasn't feeling great, but once the bruising settles and everything else, and I actually like sitting here now. I'm really glad I have one of those fights on my record to look back and go, yeah, you know what? Like I went through the ringer on that one. I went to hell and back, and I put myself through it. And it was one of those ones that every time I bumped into someone following it, they were like, "Oh my god, mate, your last fight was just so crazy, like this, that." And I'm like, even aside from not getting the win, that's something I'm still very proud of. To be like, yeah, you know what? Like, I did something that people will remember.
Absolutely. On a monumental card as well, just before Better Be of
Mm.
Bivol. So we're at the Ben Davison Performance Centre. Not many fighters. Why are you laughing?
Because Cordina's out the door. Cordina's out the window, fucking pulling faces and doing all sorts.
Typical Joe Cordina. Not many fighters do this where they stick with their original setup, stay loyal to their coach, but go to their coach and say, "Look, I want a little bit of help from someone else." I think you come in here twice a week.
Yeah, it depends, varies, but when we're really fully locked into camp mode, it probably nudges up to maybe even 3, 4 times a week. I'm here down with Ben, so yeah, I'm here quite often.
How has that changed you as a fighter?
It like massively, immensely, like it's, and I have to. It was something I think he was kind of broadly touching on, was that I looked at myself and at the team and said, right, we need to make adjustments, and there's there's adjustments I've made throughout my team with different parts in terms of physio and recovery and this, that, and strength, and just with each level kind of getting better and learning more. And boxing and IQ and knowledge was something else that me and my coach needed to kind of step a level up of, because when you're stepping into these massive fights, there's different ways to prepare. There's different ways to revise and go over film and tape, and different cues to look at and different things to pay attention to, that me and him, we've got our own ways of doing things and going about things and our own perspectives of boxing. But knowing the brain of Ben Davison and obviously Lee Wiley as well, them two together, and then them able to pick me apart really as a fighter and dissect me and go, look, you're good in these areas, but this area needs sorting out and this area needs fixing up. To be able to sit with someone and them do that to you, and you be able to kind of go through the motions with them and to build yourself up is been fantastic. It's turned me into a completely different fighter. I think if you look at my first 10 fights, or even if you look from where kind of I was before Ben and to where I am now, just the way I fight, the way I go about my work in the ring and things like that, it's definitely a massive improvement, obviously, having him part of the team.
Yes, Lee Wiley who's walked in here, and Ben.
I hear their names, they want to come getting in.
Do you feel more assured of yourself as a fighter when you step into those rings since you've been at the Performance Centre?
Yeah, I've something I've spoke about a lot for myself, and when I get asked questions and speak about other fighters, there's a level of confidence. There's like a higher level of confidence that you manage to achieve or get as a boxer when you go into the ring with a game plan that you've drilled, you're solid behind, you have true faith in, and you're just like, this is it, like this is gonna work. Like, if you trust in the guys around you and you trust in the system, you just go in there like, the best way I can compare it is you're sitting down to watch a film you've already watched maybe 10 times over, 100 times over. And I really noticed that after being with Ben. I wasn't even with Ben that long, but when I was in the Nathan Gorman fight, and like a sequence of things happened, and it was like I was looking at like a memory or something I'd already seen done, because everything happened in like perfect motion, and I was like, oh, hang on, I've drilled this, I know exactly what to do. Like, there's no obscurity, because I think a lot of fighters and stuff start to panic when stuff goes wrong and they haven't got an answer. But when you hit the notes, or as you should, and everything's hitting the right plan, and you're going, oh, actually, I know exactly what to do there, I know exactly what to do here, you relax into it, you start to hit a different level of comfort and just going through the patterns and sequences. So yeah, it gives you a higher grade of confidence.
Yeah, I asked that because a lot of fighters who train here have said that they feel more assured of themselves. You've definitely watched a Netflix series more than twice, haven't you?
Yeah. It's like that. It's like, I know what scene's about to come up, but I still enjoy it all the same.
There are some series and films you've just got to watch again.
Yeah, 100%.
I echo that. So, Fabio, recently you were moved up to number 1 in the WBA, which is big for yourself. We've been talking about you're ready for a world title shot. You're at world level, but the WBA agree. We know Kubrat Pulev just had that win recently. He holds the regular title. My brain just says make you and Pulev.
Yeah.
Is that something in 2025 we're looking at for yourself?
Fingers crossed, I hope so. Like I say I'm ready for it. The WBA have echoed the same sentiment by obviously putting me to number 1. So yeah, look, 2025, I think I said this even after my last fight, this will be the year of me aiming for world title. So that has set me up perfectly to do that. The Pulev fight is still a massive question mark right now. Is it the immediate one I jump into next? Maybe. Who knows? Maybe not. It does seem like the best option. A lot of people are saying the same thing around boxing. It seems like the most obvious one to make, but I do know boxing. I do understand boxing and the game of it, and that sometimes things always don't go as they should or to plan or however. So you need to we need to have a plan A, B, C as well, which can still get me to the same point of getting towards a world title.
Well, I know Moses Itauma, who trains here as well, has been linked with Pulev amongst many other names. So obviously that is a question I'll ask to Frank next week if there's any developments on it. But we had this chat just off camera about Frank's position with the heavyweights right now. Obviously, he's got the champion with the IBF in Daniel Dubois, and then he's got in the BC Lawrence Coley really highly rated. Moses is highly rated in the BO, and in the BA it's only you with Frank. So, not speaking for him, but just looking from that situation, if anyone's gonna get pushed towards a Pulev fight, anyone's gonna try and make the Pulev fight, it's probably gonna be you.
Yeah, you got your Umar with his promoter manager hat on there. It seems like the most obvious. Look, Frank's been in the game a very long time. He's no fool. He's a smart man. So he'll look at the landscape and go, right, if I set these boys to task, it being Daniel, me, Moses, Lawrence, however, and we set them and we all do our jobs, we can wrap up the decision, but we can wrap up the division between us, and we can all have the belts, and then maybe do a round robin, figure it all out later down the line. But yeah, if Frank's sitting there and putting a plan together, yeah, that does seem like the most obvious route and the most kind of the smart way to go about it, really, because obviously he'd love to be in control of all 4 belts. So if he can do that, I'm sure he would put that together. So he's setting us all to our own paths.
Very, very experienced Kubrat Pulev, top class operator, has been for many years. Definitely at the end of his career. Do you believe you just go straight for him if that fight does happen?
No, I wouldn't disrespect him enough to say I go straight through him. The guy's, he's world champion now and a world level operator, and has been for a very long time. He's very well experienced. He's a big, strong. He's no slouch. He's not just going to take a dive, take a roll. Like, he's a big, powerful and prideful man. So yeah, it's not if that fight does come off and it does come together, then I wouldn't take it lightly in the slightest. I think I'd do a disservice to him and myself, really, to get all this way and then take my foot off the gas right at the end would be silly for me, I think.
But fully confident you do a job on him?
100%. I'm fully confident that I'd do a job on everyone in the heavyweight division. That once I get through this next kind of these next 12 months or so, there's a lot of question marks about me being at world level and stuff, and that's fine, no worries. I've gone through my whole career about question marks and me being at any level, let alone world level. So I'll do the same as I've been doing throughout for the rest of my career, is just keep proving people wrong, keep coming out on the other side better, stronger, smarter, and then conquer 2025 with a world title.
Last one, if it is him, because it's a big if at the moment, he's got that classic sort of European style, upright, bit like a Klitschko kind of style. How would you fare against that kind of style, Fabio? Is that right up your street?
Yeah, look, I've come across all styles. I've boxed amateurs who are got a variety of different styles in them, and some guys who just come to have a scrap with me and this, that, and the other. So I've done a bunch of different styles now, and then it's not just about me now. It's obviously about the brain and the team behind me as well. And like we touched on earlier, I'm confident no matter what the opponent, the team around me can put a plan together and go, right, this is this person's flaws and weaknesses, and this is where they do well at, so stay away from these points. And I've proved already that I can stick to a game plan. Sometimes my head gets in the way, and sometimes I don't want to, and sometimes I just want to get stuck into a war. And I've proven if I do get stuck into a war, then cool, I can come out the other side of that as well. So I think I've got both sides of the coin, and I think that's what you need to make it as a world champ.
Well, whoever it is standing across you in the ring in your next fight, do we expect that to be at Portman Road at Ipswich?
Yeah, that's an even bigger if than the Pulev fight, I think. I think we go one step at a time. Look, it seems like the match made in heaven, definitely. Pulev, Portman Road, them two together obviously seem like the best thing ever, but that's spinning plates on top of spinning plates. There's a lot of variables there to put in one place. So I've spoke about fighting at Portman Road for a couple of years now, and it is something I'd like to do. It's always quite a logistical nightmare in terms of putting it together to fit it around the season and the football season, and not messing up the pitch and things like that. And then that has to fit in between the right dates with my opponent and this, that, the other, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So yeah, there is a lot of there is a lot of detail to go into it, but we are taking it step by step. And I think the first thing would be try and secure that Pulev fight, if that is the next one. Then once we've done that, then maybe we move on to just even potentially looking at the broad option of going to Portman Road, and even if it's in the Spectre whatsoever. But fingers crossed for both of those things, because there'd be a fantastic thing, a pairing to put together, and it'd be a great way to win a world title.
What would your message to the club be about potentially staging a fight with yourself against whoever at Ipswich?
I don't think I need a message for the club, because like I get on so well with them. I have such a great relationship with them. I think they're on me more than I'm on them.
Wow.
They're like, when can we do it? When can we get it together? So everyone's on board. That's not even really the question. It is just, look, there are certain time constraints, there are certain time issues, and the right opponent and the right time. And I have also stated myself that, look, it would be fantastic. I'd love it. But also, I don't just want to do it for the sake of doing it. I don't want it to be any old fight and just, it's a Portman Road, though. I want it to be a real, big, genuine fight of some worth, of some consequence, and a reason to try and pack out that stadium. Look, it's 30,000 people, so it's a big ask, and I get that. But I think with the right opponent, and the last kind of performances I put together, I've proved that you get your money's worth with me, and you're going to get entertainment. So, yeah, to do our best to try and pack it out as much as we can. Obviously, for that, though, I need the right opponent on the other side of the ring. So it can't just be anyone. So that is obviously another factor that goes into it.
Well, that brings me on to who else is in the top 15 with the WBA. Just for argument's sake, that the Pulev fight doesn't materialise next, but you go to Ipswich in a big fight. I'm just looking at some names here: Luis Ortiz, Jarrell Miller, Michael Hunter, Zhang and Cabal are both tied up. But the Miller one screams out to me a bit.
Yeah, the Miller one seems like fun.
It's an easy sell.
Yeah, that's the thing. You need someone. You need the right dance partner, someone who's going to do the dance with you and help you get there. And Miller, out of those list of names that you read out, would definitely be the one. But again, what's he up to? What's he doing? Is he ready? Does he want to fight me? Does he see the value in it? I don't know. What stage is he at with his career? What's he doing at the moment? These are all question marks. So, yeah, for me, I'm just ready to take on whoever at this top level, and prove to myself and prove to people that, no, I'm meant to be here. So I'm ready to take on whoever.
Okay, let's see if we can get Ipswich v Brooklyn done.
Yeah. Well, the investors behind the club are American, so I don't know. Well, they're not from. I don't think any of them are from New York, so I don't think they'd fall on his side for that one. So I think I'm all right. I think I'm secure. But either way, they'd be buzzing about that one, I think, as well. So, yeah, look, it'd be a fantastic thing if it comes off, but that if is in the middle of it is a very big if at the moment.
Okay, so that's kind of your next move, and it's probably a good time for me to sort of ask these questions that I'm going to do before we wrap up, because you're not in camp, you're not on fight week, where really you should be only being asked about what is upcoming for you next. So I actually want to just get an understanding of the dynamic around Moses Itauma, because like you two guys, and obviously Daniel Dubois is there, you guys are going to be the dominant forces. We believe, in the heavyweight division, not just in Britain. He trains here. I've never really asked you about Moses, because in my head, you train here, he trains here. Just picking this back up, I was saying, I've never really asked you two about each other, because you train here every day, and I just think that's a little bit awkward. But I've seen other people, most recently Talk Sport at the Gala Awards with the Ring magazine, that they were asking you about each other. Is that something that could actually happen one day, you and Moses?
I don't know a fight in history where there's been a fight between two fighters who have got the same trainer. So no is the short answer, really. I don't really know how that works, how that comes off. I think that's something we figure out between ourselves later down the line. I think we've got a good number of years in the way before I think there's enough out there. I think I said this on the red carpet. I think I said there's enough out there between me and Moses to go conquer and go do before we ever need to even give each other a look and try and divvy up these belts or figure out what's going on. We can both go each way, pick up 2 belts each, and then see where we stand with things. But yeah, I think people are very much jumping the gun there. They're not paying attention to the scene, the scenario that is going on. That me and Moses do train side by side, like every few days or so. So it's funny between us as well, because we both find it funny. Like when people ask us in interviews and this, that, and the other, we're like, "Oh, you should fight him," and we both stop and like, you do know, like I literally train with him next to him. Like what? Like I've said it jokingly a number of times. Like, what's Ben gonna do? Are we gonna do odds and evens? Are we gonna flip a coin? Like, how are we gonna work it out? So. Yeah, it's a funny one. But I think that's a question that even if it is even a question, is way away from now.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that only really happens if you two both completely clean out the division and there's literally no other fight to make. Then I don't know, Ben might have to do 6 rounds in one corner and 6 in the other.
Yeah, and then we get a 6-6 draw, and then what? And then what are we doing? So who knows?
No, I think maybe some media outlets don't even realise that you come here and you train with Moses.
No, I think you're true. Yeah, I think you're right. A lot of people don't really know, because obviously I have the dynamic between having 2 coaches. So I guess a lot of people have always, and Rob's obviously never left my corner. So people do very much pay attention to that. But me, Rob, Ben, Lee Wiley included as well, we are very much all a team. It's not one thing off to the side and a separate thing over there. It's very cohesive in one big unit. So yeah, they're all very much equally part of the team.
For someone who spends day in, day out with him and sees him train, can you just describe, as short as you can, how much of a talent Moses Itauma is?
Yeah, like he's a crazy talent, and at a ridiculous age of I think he's 20 now.
Just turned 20.
I think he's just turned 20. Yeah, like for me to be when the talent and how great he is and however all the attributes he has right now. For me, at his age, I was only now putting on my first set of gloves, and I was only now trying them out. And he's at that age of peaking, and I'm 10 years later down the line now peaking and hitting fantastic strides in my own lane. But yeah, to be him and know how much talent you've got at this age, and you've got 15 years ahead of you, if not longer, if you want to keep going, of just being a force in the division. So yeah, the future's extremely bright for him.
He's already been linked with Usyk because His Excellency is saying one day I want to make it. A lot of people misread that and thought it'd be next. He just wants to make it one day if Usyk's still hanging around. The fact that he's linked with being linked with Usyk already is quite incredible. But if that fight was to materialise one day, or just anyone sort of in that elite bracket, how do you think Moses gets on with them?
I think with most of them, like he very much holds his own. It's a complicated question, because it's like you can stand these 2 people next to each other and go, right, he's great, and well, he's more youthful, he's faster, he's stronger, however. But there is a question of time, experience, like professional experience, time in the ring, knowing how to manage rounds over time, like something I learned very harshly in a 12-round war with Fraser Clark, is like I should have done round management a lot better in that fight. And it's not something you really know or learn until you're in the scenario and you think, oh, I shouldn't have gone all out in that last round, because now my tank's hitting empty and I don't know what to do. So yeah, there's a lot to be said, because that plays a big factor, because I think over 4 to 6 rounds, Moses versus anyone is 50-50. Like, he's double dangerous. But then later rounds and an unknown for himself, and then you get up against someone who's very experienced, who's been seen and done it. Maybe they manage them situations better. Who knows? But for him, I think don't get lost in everyone putting your name everywhere. I think he's not, to be fair, he's very level-headed. He's very much just like, I want to, although he's got big aspirations and big goals for himself, he doesn't get lost in the light of, oh, everyone thinks I'm so great.
We've got Daniel Dubois v Joseph Parker coming up soon. Just want to get your thoughts quickly on that fight, and potentially, do you think you could be in with the winner later this year or even early next year?
Yeah, I think g- come straight off that. Yeah, I think if I was to go in with the win, it'd probably be late. Sorry, even early next year. But fantastic fight in of itself. Two men that have like had a peak, had a drop, and then hitting their absolute peaks again, which is fantastic to see. Um, Parker is someone I know I'm a little bit closer to. I've got more of a relationship with, and just kind of seeing his arc, his rise of coming back through it all has been great to see. Obviously, his relationship with Adeleye is another testament to what I say about myself and the other fighters here, of how much having a coach you believe and trust in can do for you in your career, and how much you can, like you've seen with him, how much of a massive U-turn it's done for Joseph Parker. So yeah, I think them and the team would be hugely confident going into that Daniel fight. I think I spoke to someone the other day that even said Parker was the favourite going into a
With the
bet.
bookies?
I think they said Parker was the betting favourite, which I was really surprised at, to be honest. With a look, and I know with Parker his previous experience and stuff, but I just thought with Daniel being the champion, I thought they'd give it to him. But seemingly, I haven't actually checked that myself, but that was something I was quite surprised at.
Okay. Regardless of what happens with Daniel, whether he's still got a belt or not, or he's unified, you and him one day just seems like a firefight. And I know there were talks about it before, and I think Frank rightly said it's too early for this because this can be built into a stadium fight, a blockbuster pay-per-view fight, because you're both young, you're both Brits, you're both dynamite punchers. It's got to happen one day, surely. You and Daniel, right?
Yeah, I've done myself in a bit here because I've gone through one war, and now all of a sudden that's all everyone wants to see from me. It's like, you can have a massive tear up with this geezer, and you can have a massive tear up with that guy. And I'm like, yeah, don't get me wrong, guys. It's all fun and games for you lot to watch. And I think that was something I said the most. Everyone was like, after my first fight with Fraser, everyone was like, oh yeah, that was such a great fight. I just kept saying, yeah, for you lot to watch. I was like, me the next day didn't think it was so great. But yeah, look, the Daniel one, people would like, he's shown that he's not shy of just letting go of shots and throwing down. And neither am I. Both massive punches. So yeah, it's it might be quite short and sharp if we lock horns quite quickly. But Frank rightly said again, smart promoting. That's something that could be built into something very big if I pick up a world title, if he's still got hold of his, or maybe another one along the way as well, when we can build something out there.
Well, it looks very bright. Sort of the fights that you're going to be involved with. We mentioned the likes of Dubois, Itauma, Okoli, and these are all in-house fights. Not even mentioned Joe Joyce. David Adeleye had a good win recently. Your former foe. If he builds himself back up and gets a few more spectacular wins like that he had over Soldakers, and there's something there for it, would you entertain a rematch with him?
Yeah, look, I think it's proven that. Well, we're seeing it in the combination of Daniel Parker that everyone is entitled to a not even one, but maybe even two goes around the sun. And if you can build yourself back around and throw yourself back in the mix, then yeah. Don't get me wrong, it was a fantastic win over Soldakers, and I think there's a few more he needs to do along the way. But yeah, of course, depending on where I'm at and depending on where he's at, maybe we meet again.
Okay. Listen, Fabio, just to close off, obviously it was big for yourself signing with Queensbury and Frank Warren. It was a fantastic start for yourself, delivering a arguably knockout of the year. A lot of sort of publications had that as knockout of 2024. What do you want them to deliver you, if you could sum it up briefly as we end this? If there's a message there to Frank that I'm sure he'll watch, what do you want in 2025, Fabio?
Frank's already well aware. It's something I'd said to him. I'd already said to him, like, look, I'm going to make a statement in my next fight. You haven't got to worry about that. The thing we need to figure out is 2025. And I said to him there, I've never, even when I didn't have a promoter in my corner, I didn't have anyone backing me properly. I wanted big fights back then. I took the away fight, or being the away fighter, fighting on a Queensbury show against Adeleye. Same again with Fraser Clark, was the away fighter, even though I was the champion. So all I ever said to Frank in the beginning was, look, I want big fights, and 2025 I want a world title, and that's my aim. So I believe in him. He can deliver those things. He's doing right by me so far. So long may it continue.
Listen, Fabio, appreciate your time. Ipswich, if you're watching this, let's get it
Up
done.
and down.
Either bring Bulgaria or Brooklyn to Portman Road. Either will satisfy, I'm sure. Fabio, thank you for your time and first of many catch-ups this year.
Cheers, mate. Thank you.